Welcome to Picnic Sports, Nightcap Edition, 9:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. My friend Steve Weil here who puts up with me. This is our second try to do this podcast today. Apparently, we tried it earlier, and I did not end up recording it. And a lot has happened since then.
I took OKC.
You did, huh?
I think so.
To beat the Lakers? I think we should take care of business. Let's do the picnic players first, and then we can get into how heated we are with our NBA picks.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Okay, so just to recap, picnic players, me and Steve are going to pick players each. We're going to make it up as we go along, but we're going to pick players. 3 players, 1 MLB batter, 1 MLB pitcher, an NBA player, and then we'll reevaluate when football season starts. And then we have a scoring system, very basic scoring system, to see if we can pick a player each day. There's a lot of games going on. So right now, Steve's beating me right now 53.2 to 40.2. Led the way by Sean Bieber and Devin Booker from the Suns. I had a donut from LeMahieu on the Yankees starting lineup, but Paul George kept me alive at 35 points. So now we're headed into 8-5, which is today, and a lot of these games already happened. Right now I have a donut going for my DH, Austin Meadows, out of Tampa Bay. -1 points, he's got a strikeout. You got Orlando versus Toronto. Neil Vucevic. You also have Minnesota pitcher versus Pitt, and then Minnesota's Max Kepler versus Pitt tonight. Do you know what they're doing right now? I also have Dallas Kuechly pitching tonight and I have Jason Tatum tonight. So both those games are still going on. I think Kuechly's still pitching. We're going into the 7th.
I'll pull mine up and see, but you want me to rattle off my picks for the rest of the week?
Yeah, so we got 8-6 and we got 8-7 going. So go ahead.
So my basketball picks for Thursday and Friday are De'Aaron Fox and CJ McCollum. We're going with De'Aaron Fox because I don't think the Kings are going to be playing basketball much longer, and I want to get some points out of him before they go home. And then I think Portland versus Denver, we're due for a CJ game. Dame's been kind of like leading the team right now, so I'm hoping they do a little more tough defense on Dame. He dishes it to CJ, and we have a nice CJ game on Friday as Portland propels itself towards that 8th seed. And then for baseball, my strategy so far for baseball is going to be to pick guys on the same team, the pitcher and the batter, just because I don't know anything about baseball right now. I really don't know who's good and who's not good. So I'm going to abuse the Pirates again because they're bad. I hope they're losing. I haven't checked the score yet. But on Thursday, we're going with Maeda pitching against the Pirates for the Twins, and Cruz, I think he's their DH. And then on Friday, we're going to go with Sandy Alcantara and Michael Conforto from the Marlins against the Mets.
And the Marlins are playing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I might have made that up. I didn't check to see if their games are still postponed. Did they announce that they're going to start their games up again?
Not sure, but you got a couple days to check it out, so we'll figure it
out. All right.
You can always change out as long as you don't pick any of the players I picked.
Yeah, that's a wrench I didn't think about when I picked these guys.
Well, that's why I stayed away from the Yankees-Phillies game because I don't know what the hell's going on. The Phillies were postponed because they had played the Marlins, and then now they were delayed, and now the Yankees and Phillies are playing like 2 games today, a game tomorrow. I don't know who's going to start, who's taking a rest. So it's just a game to stay away from because the lineups aren't even available. All right, so for 8-6 for tomorrow, I have my White Sox. I love the White Sox this year. dark horse. Taking the Lewis Robert batter. He's batting 3.64 against Milwaukee. And I'm taking Cleveland's starting pitcher, Carlos Carrasco versus Cincinnati. He's got an ERA of 3.75. And then my NBA player, I'm going to take Luka Doncic versus the Clippers. And I think that'll be a good game. Dallas, Clippers, two teams that might be in the West Championship. 8-7 on Friday. I'm going to take MLB batter, second baseman of the Washington Nationals, Starlin Castro, who's been on fire. 3.79 average against Baltimore, who's been terrible. I saw him play against the Rays. They're not very good. MLB pitcher, I'm going to say that one for last. MLB player, I'm taking John Morant, my boy John Morant from Memphis. They've been embarrassed lately. Memphis has. The 8 save that's slipping out of their hands. Portland, and they just lost to the Utah Jazz today. But I like John Morant to, take that as fire under his ass and, get that team going. So John Morant, NBA player, 8-7. And then my last player for 8-7 is Friday night, Oakland, starting pitcher Chris Bassett, new guy, young kid, ERA under 1.93, 12 strikeouts. I don't know if that's a combination of a game and a half, but the last game he played was 9 innings versus Houston, and the struggling batters on Houston. I think a lot of the batters are under 200. And is that what we like to see as fans?
I mean, if you got the pitcher going.
That's what I like to see. I'm banking that the Houston batters struggle again, and maybe because all the fans love to see it.
They need to get some garbage cans up in there.
They got to make some sort of noise, right?
I just checked on the Twins Pirates game, and Kepler hit a home run.
Bastard.
So three run home run, and Dobnak went 6 innings, no earned, 1 strikeout. So that's a solid performance from the pitcher. Didn't hurt me.
No strikeouts. Yeah, you didn't get a negative like I got with one of them.
I mean, you can't always strike people out. These batters are savvy.
I think this pick the players is going to be fun. Just to be able to pick players and kind of like be interested in the games each and every week, even though, we are. And these are the players we have for the next 3 days, including tonight. Austin Meadows is currently -1. I haven't updated Dallas Kuechly yet because he might be pitching another inning, but he's getting close. And if they win, he'll get a W, which is +8 points. The W for the pitcher is most important. And if you give up home runs, Sean Bieber right here probably should have had a better night, but he gave up a home run. -4. Yeah, there it is. And we go down to 8-6 and 8-7. I really like my Starlin Castro pick. Very good player that came over to the Nationals this year. I feel bad that I can only pick Luka Doncic now, but I think, Steve, you have the right strategy picking these kind of players that aren't going to be in the playoffs. I probably should take that into consideration.
I mean, you can steal my strategy if you want. That's cool.
That's a good cutaway. All right, we're going to talk what we thought about the NBA games this past weekend. It's now almost Thursday. It's Wednesday night at 10 p.m., So there's games going on right now. We got Boston Celtics and the Nets. The fucking Lakers lost, but I'm still gonna go on my rant. I went on earlier today before we never actually recorded. But I want to know your thoughts of the games and where we're at right now. Who's up? Who's down? Going into this weekend.
So as we talked about earlier, that 8th seed in the West is wide open. Even the teams that are like 11, 12, 13, if they win out, they got a shot to be in the play-in game. So it's going to be interesting going down the stretch to see who shows up and who really takes his shot at getting into that 8-9 spot. It looks like the Grizzlies have a shot to lose out. Memphis could go 0-8. They're already 0-4. Portland is playing really good. They play tomorrow, right? Spurs came in and had a couple interesting wins. They beat the let's see who they beat. That was exciting.
Do they have a chance, or are they just there to kick people out?
No, so they beat the Mavs, the Kings, and the Grizzlies, and they had a shot at the Sixers. They had a shot to be 4-0. Right now, they only have 37 losses, so they
how many games back?
They're intense, but they have one less loss than the Blazers. They're missing 2 games, so maybe they didn't play as many games at the end of the season when it got canceled. So that there might be a hamstrung a little bit by not having the same number of wins. I think if it goes by winning percentage, then that's why they're in 10th place. So but they got a shot, you know.
A lot of teams have a shot at that last spot for sure.
We're really excited about the Suns, right? They were or they are undefeated. They haven't lost yet since we restarted. They still have 5 games to go. They play the Pacers, Heat, Thunder, Sixers, and the Mavericks. It's a tough schedule, but, you know, they're young guys. They got young legs, and it'll be interesting to see if Booker can put the team on his back. He had that game-winning shot the other night, so I'm excited to see the battle for that 8th spot. I'm really rooting for Portland, though.
Yeah, like we talked about in the last podcast, Melo's been real clutch. He hit a couple game winners. He's hitting some threes. He's really becoming that a player that doesn't necessarily have to carry the team on his back, but he's there when you need him. Real reliable. So interesting.
Yeah, we used to, when we played pickup, we used to call foot on the line. We used to call it a Melo 3 because Melo's just infamous for taking those really, really deep twos. and it's cool to see him, you know, take a step back and hit those threes because that's part of his game that he never really embraced in his younger days.
Yeah, I was really rooting for Memphis Grizzlies and John Morant to get that 8th seed. It's not looking good. They're losing most of their games right now. I do have them Friday night picking it back up and winning that game, and John Morant having a good game. I feel like if people get humiliated and the media starts talking, and like, "Where's Memphis Grizzlies?" They're going to blow it. I think they have a comeback, a turnaround, a rebound game. But honestly, Steve, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the Portland Blazers get that seed. It doesn't matter if the Mavericks are good because LeBron and the LA Lakers are going to win it. They just clinched first place. That's what I learned this past weekend, that LeBron could just turn it on at any time.
So your hot take over the weekend was that the Lakers are going to win the championship. They're the best team in the league.
I think they're the best team in the West. I think that the West Championship will be a problem. I think it'll be a difficult playoff run for them, but I think it's something that LeBron James is the only person that could get it done. As far as it being difficult, and I said this earlier today, and they lost tonight. And I said this earlier today. I think that they could be in a situation where they're down 0-3 in a finals game or a semifinal game, and LeBron James wills his team back to victory in that series. He's just that type of player. I mean, you've seen it, not tonight, but the other night, he lets AD do all the work. And the third quarter, he just turns it on against the Jazz. Turns it on. He's hitting threes in the parking lot. I remind me of Jimmy Fredette. So, I honestly, I don't know how anybody can beat LeBron right now.
So there's almost nobody in the West that you can look at that has a big enough guy or a big enough pair of guys to throw at AD. Maybe Rudy Gobert, but I don't know. He might be too slow. Maybe Rudy Gobert and Porzingis isn't a defensive guy though, is he? They don't put him down in the paint, and they're not gonna, he's not gonna defend AD. AD will just body him and go through him. AD's bigger than him.
The biggest enemy in the West for the Lakers, I think, is the Rockets, because they play a totally different style of ball, and if it might be too fast for AD. They might steal the ball from AD. They create turnovers. I think the style of play that Houston plays with Harden and Westbrook might be challenging for the Lakers in the playoffs.
Yeah, if they play small ball, because they don't have a center on their roster, and they force the Lakers to take AD off the court, then that's a strategy that other teams can't use to kind of neutralize AD. As far as a matchup though, like Portland, I've said this before, if they get that 8 spot, that first game against the Lakers is going to be tough because they've got Nurkic and Zach. I forgot his name. Hold on.
They have a good lineup. Lowry and Melo. It's going to be interesting. Honestly, I just can't. I picked the Jazz to win it just because I like Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell's chemistry. But I think LeBron James can create chemistry with anybody. And then you got Dwight Howard. The fourth quarter against the Jazz, they had Dwight Howard out there, AD, and LeBron James. It doesn't even matter who else was out there.
Yeah, I always forget that Dwight Howard's on that team, and then you look up and you're like, oh yeah, he used to be the most dominant player in the NBA, and he plays for the Lakers now.
So, yeah, and then they lost tonight, so you kind of wonder, right? Maybe they don't have the energy to do it, or maybe this game isn't too important. I just think when it matters the most.
Yeah, I would chalk it up to this game isn't important. They have the number 1 seed locked up, so they're not going to do anything to put anybody in any danger. They'll get their minutes. They'll, not get rusty, but, wins, losses don't matter at this point.
Right. Is it basically easy street? Whoever plays the Lakers has a good chance of winning just because the Lakers don't care right now until they get into actual meaningful playoff games?
No, I wouldn't go that far. If they play well and have a, good turnout at the beginning of a game, they might just be so far ahead that you can't catch them. So I wouldn't chalk it up like these next 4 games. So they got the Rockets, the Pacers, the Nuggets, and the Kings. I wouldn't say they're going to go 0-4 in those games. They're probably going to play.
They try their hardest to beat the Rockets?
So they might not play the Rockets full power at all. So they might rest. So this is what I would do if I was the Lakers. I would rest this game against the Rockets because it's your toughest matchup of the 4, right? And then kind of work people back in against the Pacers, Nuggets, and then play full minutes against the Kings. If you're worried about being a little bit tired from this blitz of 8 games. This is a pretty fast pace of playing 8 games for NBA players.
Yeah, I think they went – I just think he could turn it on at any moment. I think they could blow – if they went as hard as he wanted for 4 quarters, I think they would blow out teams. 200 points if he went as hard as he possibly could.
They're not scoring 200 points.
All right. So I like for Saturday's podcast, I'd like to find out what the odds are for who's going to win the whole thing. Maybe we should do a top 10 list of who's going to win it. And then, where would you put your money? Let's just throw it that way. What are the odds in Vegas? The top 10 odds.
I would have put it on Portland to start.
Well, those odds have definitely gone up for now.
Well, yeah, I know, but at the beginning of the bubble, that's easy money.
Yeah. I'm not sold. First of all, they have to even get the 8 seed. Say they get the 8 seed, it's an 8 seed. Now you got to play the number 1 team in the West first series.
That's right. You knock off the King, knock them off first. They were plus 480 to make the playoffs.
You know what, Steve?
At the start of the bubble.
I'm really excited for this because I want the Utah Jazz to win. I'm going to stick with them, but I want Portland to play the Lakers in the first series, and I would love the live podcast while we watch those series games.
Perfect. That'd be great. I can't wait. Come on, Portland. Come on, Fit Mello. One time.
Fit Mello. All right. We talked a lot about the West. What about the East? My fucking Celtics. Are they losing right now? What the hell's the score?
No, they're up by like 20. They're doing all right.
I hope Tatum's. Oh, yeah, 20. And you know what? And Tatum, he's the man. I just started watching that game, and one of the first points was him drilling this long three. Really good looking three.
Yeah, so the East is pretty much
Hayward's leading
going, right? We got I think there's only like the 3, 4, 5, and 6 seeds are the only ones that can actually move around. I guess the Nets and the Magic could flip-flop at 7 and 8, but it looks like we're going to be looking at Heat Pacers, Celtics Sixers matchups for the 3, 4, 5, and 6 if it holds the way it is right now. The only thing that could happen is the Sixers could, move into the 5 spot, but they're terrible.
That was a bad pick by you, Steve. I think the Philly thing kind of got to you. You used your heart over your brain.
I'm still rooting for them. We're going.
I think Ben Simmons got hurt.
Ben Simmons got hurt?
I think he's got a knee issue. It was breaking news like an hour ago.
That's good. They're better when one of them are not on the court. And that's just true.
Embiid's been turning it up, dude. 30 points. Embiid's been turning it up. Double-double, 11 rebounds, 30 points. He's been good.
Watch out for the Embiid-led Sixers without Ben Simmons. That's a tough team. Those two guys get on the court at the same time, and then it's like their heads knock into each other. They forget how to play basketball sometimes.
Yeah, you were talking about Miami earlier today before we didn't get recorded.
Yeah, so I tweeted on Sunday that I think Miami's the second best team in the East right now. They looked really good in their first few games in the restart. They just beat the Celtics. They had a close game against the Raptors, and they kind of crushed the Nuggets a little bit, being by 20. And they've got a tough game against the Bucks, but then they play the Suns, Pacers, Thunder, and then Pacers again. I could see them going 3-2 there and rolling into the playoffs with a win streak.
Yeah, who do they play next? They play the Bucks tomorrow at TNT, 4 p.m. That'll be a good game.
I take the Heat.
There's no spread on it yet, but the Heat play the Bucks. That'll be the real test of whether or not we are disrespecting them or not.
I think the Bucks might be in Laker mode. Yeah. I don't think they can lose the 1 spot.
I agree. I agree.
They'd have to lose out, and I just don't think they're going to lose out. They play the Mavericks. They play the Wizards and the Grizzlies, so they're definitely going to win those games. So I think they're in cruise mode. I think Heat have a lot to prove, so I like the Heat in that game.
All right. That's a good take right there, because that's I don't know what the spread is, but it's going to be somewhere around 8 points given to the Heat. Might be easy money. Toronto is winning 98-84 with 4 minutes left in the fourth. So Toronto's been pretty good lately in the East. So that's just interesting since Kawhi is not there anymore and they still win. So
I think the Toronto winning the championship without Kawhi is a better storyline than Kawhi winning a championship in LA. I would love to see Toronto. I would love to see Toronto versus LA Clippers. That would be an epic finals. That would be a great finals. It would be like the Luke Skywalker versus the Empire or something like that.
Were you rooting for Toronto last year?
No, I'm a Golden State Warriors fanboy.
Okay.
It
was almost like Canada versus the USA in that situation, right?
Yeah, it felt like it, right? We are the North versus everybody else.
A lot of basketball left to play. I think we touched base on ups and downs. I still like my pick: Celtics, Utah Jazz. I like the Mavericks, but I honestly don't think anybody's going to beat the Lakers in the West.
Except the Blazers.
You like the Blazers, and I'm excited for that matchup. 1 seed, 8 seed. In the East, I think the Celtics will turn it on. Jason Tatum's sick of being told he can't do it, and he's going out there right now tonight against the Nets and turning it on. Actually, Hayward's doing it, and Walker, or the other guy's doing it too. But yeah, I think we covered everything. We're about 28 minutes in this. This is the most efficient podcast we ever had. I think you wanted to touch a little bit on the NFL. You had some stat or some headline you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. So just before we head out, what are the chances we see a bunch of people opt out with Thursday's deadline being, for opting out for the season due to COVID and whatnot?
Yeah, I wish I could just opt out of things all the time now.
So we did the close earlier today, and I went downstairs and looked at my phone. And the first thing I saw was that Stefon Diggs had opted out, but it was like one of those joke memes, like share this to scare your Bills friends. And it fucking got me, dude. I'm like, no way. I almost texted it to you, but then I read it and I'm like, oh, all right, okay.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious because I think a lot of the players were kind of pissed off that they moved up the opt-out time frame, but they need to know. I mean, it's a money-making business. They need to know who's going to play and who's not going to play, and I want to know.
Yeah, and I also think there's a chance for players to still opt out, even going forward, if like their situation with their family changes at all. If like if something comes up, it can be addressed on an individual basis. Like, hey, my wife or my kid is doing this, and we kind of feel like it's best for us to opt out. So
absolutely.
They
flexibility.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of just like a hard date to get everybody on the same page, I think.
Now, back to your question, do you think there's going to be a flood of people tomorrow? You said it was?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Any big names?
I think we've seen a lot of the bigger names that we were going to see with, Damian Williams and the Patriots guys like Chung and Barnett and whatnot. But I don't know if we'll see any bigger names than that. It'll be interesting to see.
All right. That probably concludes tonight's episode. It's like 10:21. I got to edit this and load it, so I got a little bit of work to do. Maybe we do some mock drafts on Saturday. I've been doing a couple of them today just to see where I can try to land Marquise Brown, and I have yet to draft him. I'm literally doing these mock drafts just to draft him and see where I can get him, and I keep missing them. So I think I'm going to have to reach for him.
I've been doing my fair share of mock drafts too. I play in like a bunch of different league like types, 2 quarterback, 10 team, 12 team. So I feel like I have to do like 4 times as many mock drafts because I have to do it multiple times in every format.
Yeah,
because they're all different.
Do you like the 2? I like the 2 quarterback in our 10-person league because there's so many good quarterbacks, and 10 people is not that many people.
Yeah, I'm in a strict 2 quarterback league with 10 people, and that worked out pretty well last season.
You can only have 3, right, on your roster or something like that.
I don't.
What do you mean by strict?
No, it's just like 2 quarterback, as opposed to like a super flex. I run a super flex league.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's 2 quarterback, unless you don't have a quarterback, then you can put anybody in that super flex spot.
Yeah, so the league that I'm in, we do a strict 2 quarterback, but you can only have one other starting quarterback on your bench. So you're only allowed to have, and it's basically have to be managed by the commissioner because there's not any settings you can set for that. But you can't just stockpile quarterbacks on your roster.
So it's a 10-team, 10-team league,
yeah.
10-team, 2 quarterbacks. So basically 30 quarterbacks are locked up.
Yeah. And then you have the classic this year we have the classic Chicago and Miami quarterback battle. Yep. And last year with Daniel Jones and Eli Manning for the first couple of games, you don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, let me clip this up, get a little Instagram plug for it, and we'll talk Saturday. Let's try to get a guest, okay?
All right, sounds good, bud.
All right, have a good night. Peace.
You too. Later.